Hello everyone, how's everyone doing today? I thought I'd make a quick little video showing some of my photography work. From time to time, I get requests from viewers asking me to showcase some of my work, some paid gigs. So I said, you know what? Let's talk about that today. So in this video, we'll be doing just that. Rock and roll. What's good, guys? This is Vahagraphy. I'm Vahagan, your rock and roll photographer. In this short little video, I'm going to be showcasing some of my work at paid assignments. We're going to have a little fun. Yeah, I love talking about gear, camera, and lens reviews. And by the way, I have a few reviews lined up. But today, we're going to take a little turn into my photography. Why not? This is a photography channel after all, right, guys? Yeah, am I a YouTuber? I don't know. What is a YouTuber anyway? If a photographer talks about his photography or her photography on YouTube, does that make he or she a YouTuber? I'm just a photographer that makes videos and posts them on YouTube. So if that makes me a YouTuber, fine. I'm a professional photographer slash YouTuber. Anyway, let's get the ball rolling here. I'll be showing you some work. I'll show you some examples and we'll talk about why I took this shot, how I did it, lighting, posing. This video is perfect for those of you who are just starting out and have paid assignments coming up and you just want some extra tips on, photography, portraits, event photography, lighting, posing, you name it. I'll take you into my thought process. I'll show you the images and we'll just talk about them. I'll be discussing them as I'll be displaying them. And one more thing before I get started, the cameras and lenses. I used Nikon on these images, different variety of lenses. The cameras, Nikon D4, D800, D850. If I come across some images that I use different gear on, I'll let you know while we're rolling with the images. All right, guys, let's get started. When I'm taking pictures with my clients, for my clients, I like to show raw emotion. Now, of course, that matters who you're photographing. You might have a boring subject. They don't talk much. They don't show any type of feeling or emotion behind the camera. They might be nervous. It might be a cool idea to kind of break the ice with your clients. Have them open up to you. Crack a joke or two. In these first couple of examples, I want to show you raw emotion from the clients. You see her face, I'm cracking a joke, she's reacting to that joke. And by the way, guys, if it's an interesting background, for example, this image, I'm a big fan of artsy angles and weird composition. And if it just looks cool, it looks cool. So sometimes throw that rule of thirds rule out the window. And in this image right here, red carpet wedding, like I said, I want the energy to come out, and what do you know? He's throwing a rock and roll sign. And sometimes in your photography adventures, you never know where you'll end up shooting, and what the backdrop is, and what type of obstacles you have. In this image right here, I used the bridge. I told the couple to jump, show some raw energy and emotion, and I put the camera on continuous high and I took a few shots and I picked the best one. Now, if you're a wedding photographer and you're having trouble getting some emotion out of the bride, call the parents over and ask them to remember their wedding day and just observe the bride. I guarantee she will show some emotion and you might just snap that killer candid that you've always wanted. That's what I do. Okay, this next couple, this wedding I will never forget. After I shot this wedding, it opened my photography up to a whole different market. And I would always appreciate them and I will never forget it. Like I said, guys, it only takes one gig to just open your photography up to a whole nother level. New clientele, new market, word of mouth, you name it. It was awesome. So these next few examples, I want to show you guys to pick a killer backdrop and isolate the subject and add some killer lighting, and you have a recipe for an amazing portrait for your clients. Right here I'm using the D850 and the 85 1.4 lens. I love that lens for portraits. I love her expression and the way she's looking at my camera. Just amazing all around, I think. Always be aware of the backdrop. I knew those lights on the left would add to the image and the bokeh, and I purposely took the shot wide open to get this effect. And here's an example of why I love the 35mm 1.4G lens. This is shot with the D850 and the 35 wide open. Just love the colors and the background blur, the taxi, the lighting. Just like this image a lot. That's why I showcased it here. Okay, I remember this one, same shoot, but I'm using the Fujifilm X-T3. At the time I had the X-T3 with a 90 90mm f2 lens, wide open. These next couple of examples, I want to get into lighting. Pay attention to your lighting. Right here I'm using the backlight of the sun, and I'm filling it in with a little bit of flash from the side. And always be aware when you're taking pictures that you watch out for tree branches, anything that looks weird in the backdrop. You know, you don't want tree branches growing out of people's heads, nothing weird looking or obstructive. And this next example I want to show you guys is off-camera flash. Now off-camera flash, it can be tricky, but used correctly, you can really bring dynamic looking images to your photographs. Now all I did with this image is just put the off-camera flash with the trigger and behind them and just blast it almost full blast. It's a speed light I'm using. I love the way the light is bouncing off the bar stools and it's illuminating her hair and lighting the whole backdrop with the bar. Makes a big difference when you're using off-camera flash. In this next example, lovely couple here, bride and groom. I'm using the backlight of the sun. The sun is golden setting, and I'm using a reflector to bounce that same light in the foreground of the bride so we can get a nice lit up warm image. You can also use the effect lighting of the banquet hall to your advantage. The backlighting on the curtains is all banquet hall lighting, but I also used a flash on the side, off-camera flash, to illuminate softly the side of her face. Makes for a really good effect. This next example of lighting, I'm using the Nikon D850. I'm using the Godox AD600, basically half power, with a softbox to illuminate the foreground, her body and her face. Okay, this image I planned beforehand. I set the speed light up in front of the altar as the bride is walking in with her father, and I had the trigger on. So basically I got that whole light in the back coming out, full power on the speed light, just made for a dramatic effect. It's lighting, guys. Lighting can make the image look totally different. Looks very, very cool. You can also use the lack of lighting in your photography. I'm a big fan of taking a few shots silhouette style. The shape, the bouquet, the shape of her face, the body. I'm using the window light here coming out from the window. I remember this image, the sun was almost setting. I had I believe the 14 to 24. And I just did a nice silhouette of them looking at each other with the sky and just the horizon. So sometimes you don't really need to have a fancy softbox at a wedding. You know, it's run and gun, you're on the go. This image, this is an example of bouncing your speed light on the wall to the left corner. So I was able to turn my flash head to the left corner and I got this softbox effect without setting up a softbox. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. Make sure the wall is white. You'll get the best results. This image right here, the subject's clothing, the sun was reflecting very harsh light and I use that to my advantage, and it turned out to be a really cool effect in the picture. So when I'm doing rock and roll photography, if I'm capturing a band jamming live, I'd love to take my speed lights with me and set it up, a couple of speed lights on the stage if I can. And this is an example of having my light, using the stage light, but also having my light to add a little bit of light on the face of the drummer right here. And make sure to capture those epic moments of the band jamming. You notice one light reflecting on the left to illuminate the side of the face, and you notice the other light on the right, it's adding a little light under that symbol, the one he's holding on the right. That's my speed light. And it always helps to kind of listen to their tunes before you show up to their gig, so you kind of get a feel of where the breaks are, where those special rock fills are, so you can know when they're going to rock out to capture those breaks and those moments of the band. And here's a perfect example of what my speed light is doing to this image. Look at the drummer's right side. That smoke and that light is just adding to the image. I love it. Moving on to props. Okay, I sometimes like using props when they're used tastefully and nicely to add flavor to the image and to add dimension. However, I'm not too big of just bringing your own props and, putting a desk or a bed in the middle of the desert or whatnot. So that's an example of using the doors as a prop to add dimension to the portrait of the bride. Here's a cool image using a prop, a bicycle, to add a little bit of fun to the image. You want to have them come out and just be lively, the bride and groom, so it's okay to use props like this. You can also use personal props. You might not think this is gonna be a cool image, but you can crop in little details of her face and the little mannequin thingy, and it might turn out to be an artsy picture. Always be mindful of props and make sure they're not in the way of the subjects you're photographing. Notice how I placed the props right in between so they're not covering the faces. To be honest with you guys, I'm not a big fan of using props. However, if the client really wants to add props, why not do something creative? I set up a light right in front of them to capture their shadow through this prop. With the right lighting technique and the right props, you can make an image look creative. I'm using that same light to highlight the light in through their hair. Incorporating the surroundings to create something dramatic, something interesting. Here's a little bit of a Dutch angle. Nothing wrong with Dutch angles, guys. I know Dutch angles get a little bit of a bad rap in the photography world. Try not to make it a habit in your photography, but sometimes it's kind of cool. And here's an example of using your surroundings and just capturing the vibe and the moment. And sometimes let your subjects be. If they're talking with each other, if they're praying, if they have a special moment, just back away from the subjects and just capture what you see. You could also use the bridal bouquet as a prop for special effect photos. Actually, I remember this shot. This shot was taken at Henry Houdini's mansion in Southern California, in the backyard of Henry Houdini. So all props aside, I rather keep those things at home. I want to capture faces, natural expressions, joy, happiness, and the love. That's what I excel in as a photographer. That's what gets me excited taking photographs. My favorite type of photography is portrait photography. I like all types of photography: commercial, real estate, buildings, landscape. If you were to ask me what I prefer, I love taking pictures of people. Simple as that. People in their natural habitat, special occasion portraits, street photography, documenting history with people in the images. I've done a lot of wedding photography in my career, and I feel I need to capture the love, the depth, and the feeling of the couple. There's no worse thing than a boring wedding with boring people. So like, for example, in this image, we're having a good time with everyone. But don't have too much fun, guys. You're there to get paid and to do your work. Just be mindful of your surroundings. Choose beautiful backgrounds, lighting, like this image right here. I use the bamboo, the nature. Scout the venue, scout the location, and just pick and choose where the best possible shots will be taken. This image, I found this painting in the back. It looked great. I use this reflective backdrop right here, and the pose. Be mindful of the pose and add movement to your photographs. Movement creates a positive energy which creates beautiful imagery. And one quick tip when you're doing details at a wedding like this shot, try to keep it as simple as possible. Don't clutter the scene with unnecessary items. And last but not least, guys, before I close the video, like my buddy on the floor there capturing the shot, anything for the shot, right guys? The more effort, energy, and excitement you put in taking the photographs, the more those images will shine, not only in your eyes as a photographer, but your client's eyes. Alright, hopefully you enjoyed this video, guys. I enjoyed showing you my work and my thought process while working and taking these images for my clients. If you haven't subscribed yet to this channel, Vahagraphy, this is a photography channel where we talk about all things like camera and lens reviews, the business side of photography, tutorials for beginners or advanced photographers. So if this is your first time on Vahagraphy, go ahead and hit that subscribe button and also hit that like button. The more likes we get, it helps with the YouTube stuff, and the more people that see our content, the more we will be able to produce videos like this one and many others. If you're a beginner photographer or advanced professional and you're struggling with a certain type of subject matter to do with photography, let me know in the comment section what other types of videos you'd want me to produce pertaining to photography. I'd like to know, I'd like to get some ideas that inspires me to create future content. So leave that comment down below. This is Vahagraphy. I'm Vahagan, your rock and roll photographer. And we'll see you on the next video. And remember, just like Iron Maiden rocks The Trooper, one of my favorite Iron Maiden songs, rock those images next time you're behind the camera. Rock and roll.